Hello, guys. Welcome to this edition of our live videos. So, today I want to just fulfill the promise I made to us about sometime earlier in the week about doing a session on how to publish a paper if your supervisor is not very willing to help or not very available to help, I would say. So, if you are a student in Nigeria at the moment or any other place in the world and you've got to the final phase of your undergraduate degree, my recommendation is always that you try to make at least one research paper publication from your graduation thesis, right? The reason is because I don't see why you should do all that work, put in all that effort, and there is no report of what you've done to the outside world. So the outside world would get to see your work through your publication. But if you are not able to make any publication through this from this work, then you basically um, end the story of your work just between you, your supervisor, and the panel that will be taking your defense. But once again, welcome to this edition of our live videos. I want to now tell us two things, and I'm going to share an experience from my own self. When I was doing my bachelor's degree, I didn't do so much of publications. I didn't write too much. Well, you wouldn't blame me much because at that time I was studying in Russia and I didn't have so much of the information I had afterwards. So, in retrospect, I would have acted differently from what I did during my bachelor's program. Of course, that's not to say I didn't perform well during the bachelor's. I had a 4.98 on a 5-point CGPA. But in terms of publication, I really didn't write any paper during my bachelor's degree. But at the point I got to my the final semester, I started trying to apply for master's programs in the US, in Canada, in the UK, and I began to realize that most of the scholarships available for postgraduate for graduate assistants would require that one comes in to do a master's degree by research, because in developed countries you could have a master's by research, you could have a master's, a course-based master's, right? But to get the admission or to get the scholarships that came with the master's by research, enabling you to become a graduate assistant, in many cases you see that a published paper puts one on a position of advantage. And so that's why it is important to have at least one paper or two papers published. By the time I began to do my master's, which was in Russia, eventually I got admissions into several schools, into different schools in UK, in US, in Canada, but none of them was coming with a significant scholarship, right? But after that period, I went back to Russia to start doing my master's or to continue with my master's program. But at that point, I began to write. And just in case your own supervisor is not very much available, my supervisor was a Russian speaking doctor who was not, he was very helpful, but he wasn't going to be very helpful in terms of writing a paper in English. Fine, he gave his ideas, gave his support, but in terms of proofreading it, like all of those things, those were going to be very challenging for him. And I eventually didn't have to bother him so much with those things. The question now is, how did I get to publish about 3 to 4 papers between the period I started my master's degree and, of course, some extended into after I had graduated. Even while I was in Nigeria, we were still able to do another paper, in collaboration with a friend. But then that was from his own thesis, not mine at this time. What do you do? So a thesis has a standard structure in most countries. You have a literature review, you have the main parts of the paper, of the thesis. However, in the research or academic world, a good literature review qualifies for a journal publication. So if your supervisor, for instance, is not available to do all the reviews, provide all the guidance, one thing I recommend is start writing, right? Find papers that are similar to what you are about to write. This is not to encourage you to plagiarize, no, but you don't have someone who is going to provide you guidance, right? But there are papers that have been published that are good enough guidance for you. So a guy has published something like, let's say, literature review on. I'm going to use some terms in oil and gas engineering because that's my background. Just put the terms in your own field. So a guy has published a literature review on well control, for instance, and I intend to write a paper on, or a literature review paper on well bore stability. So I could look at the structure of his own paper, the kind of way he structured his writings, and I would structure mine close to that, but in a different field or in the field that is relevant to me. And once I'm able to do that, assuming in this case we are considering that my supervisor is not willing to help me. I don't know if that is your case, but this is a worst case scenario where a supervisor is not willing, even though I know that most supervisors will be willing because it also gives credit to their own academic, to their own progress in the academia. It adds to their portfolio, it adds to their CV, and most of them should be willing to help you. But where the guy is not, or the man, the professor, the doctor is not willing to help you, the lady professor or whoever, then this is what you should do. Get started on this work this way I'm describing it. Get a paper that's published in a similar field, read through it, and start writing your own. By the time you've made some progress, you could go to LinkedIn, right? Or come on Facebook, find someone who is in that field. It could be someone who it could be anybody from anywhere, any country who has sufficient understanding of the area you are working on. Get in touch with that person. And when you get in touch with the person, just ask the person a question. I am doing this, I am writing this kind of work, and I'm a bit of stuck at this point. I'm trying to, could you please help me go through it and maybe make your recommendations on what you think about the work? Most people would go through that process to help you. Personally, I've got someone who reached out to me from India. She had done a master's degree in the UK and was trying to make a paper out of it. And, it's something I would have done, I was willing to do without pay, without any additional, conditions or anything. And you will have a lot of people on LinkedIn who will be very willing to help you that way, right? In my case, there were two things that really helped me. Number one was the advice and motivation of one lecturer from Nigeria who was doing a PhD in my school then, a lecturer at the Cross River State University, Ikem Azos Shubel. I hope I pronounced that surname correctly or the name correctly. But the other part of the success story in terms of writing those papers was my colleagues. So my roommate was there, my other friends were there, and we put our heads together, went into a collaboration, and began to share these ideas. There was one case where my friend was the one who got the materials for the work, and then the other part of writing the paper was just supported with our own brain effort and brain power, and a paper came through out of it. So of all the papers I published, it was just I think one that had the support or the name of my supervisor on it. I am not encouraging you though to go writing papers without your supervisor, because he's doing a good work. He's helping you, guiding you and directing you. But like in my case, I use the example of my case because I wanted to publish in English. My supervisor was a non-English speaking guy, and I wouldn't lay all the burden of editing an English work on him, and I wasn't going to publish so much in the Russian language because at the point I was planning a career outside of Russia. Well, I was planning further education outside of Russia, so I needed to write in a language that the people I am planning to go and meet would understand, right? So if you are in that position where you don't have anyone, an academic in your school to guide you, what you can do is start the work. Nobody is going to, if you reach out to me saying you've not started doing anything, I should help you and all that, I may not be able to help you on that individual basis. But if you've got something started, then I could come in, or any other person could come in and then guide you, somebody who is in your field. Of course, I can't edit all papers, I can't make recommendations on all papers, but I can generally look at the structure of papers, make recommendations on that, but I am not an expert in everything. Yeah, but if you were writing something, say in oil and gas, and particularly drilling, well construction, well completions, well abandonment, any of those things, wells, those could be areas where I personally could be of more help to you. After the literature review, you've published it. Basically, literature review is trying to look at all the work that has been done in the past and then identifying something that has not been done, or something that has been done but not done completely. So in the academia, it's called gap in knowledge. It's more like comparison, criticism, commendations, like trying to identify what have people done, what did they not do correctly, what are your thoughts about the things they've done, making comparisons of different approaches, sometimes different methodologies, and all that and all that. Those are the kind of things you do in the literature review. And I know it is a standard part of your graduation thesis in almost every school. So just give it some extra time, do it well, and you would have published a good paper, which becomes very relevant to your further studies if you choose to continue, pursuing academic degrees. The other part you could publish is your actual research. So you are doing an experiment, for instance, and let's say you are analyzing a particular drilling fluid. I am from, that's my background, and if I use examples from there, just put in an example from your own area. So you are analyzing this, and you come to a point where, for instance, you have to do an experiment. So discussing that experiment, the findings from the experiment, the methodology of the experiment, and all that, drawing up a conclusion and making recommendations is also a good research paper to be published. So if I say that you should be able to do two papers from your graduation thesis, this is actually what I mean. And I don't know if you've got any additional questions, you can just drop them in the comments, and then as much as possible, I will do my best to help you. If you are seeing this video and you've not liked ASAT, you've not followed ASAT, just consider it, liking ASAT, and then putting, sharing the things we post here, so that we're able to reach your friends. It might not help you directly, but who knows? Your friend somewhere might be looking for opportunities to, get a scholarship and move out to a foreign country. This is something we share here, and just try as much as possible to share one of our videos. We do a lot on YouTube as well. On YouTube, we still bear the name ASAT, and our logo remains the same. So when you go to YouTube, you can look for us there and check out all the videos we've published. Subscribe to that channel, and a whole lot will be coming up subsequently on this page and subsequently on our YouTube channel to help develop you from the academic success you are to a life success. So let's work together on the path of writing your success story. And if you go with us, we will lead you in the right direction. So you don't miss road when you follow us. And that's what we are here to do. So I look forward to your publications. I will be encouraged to, I will be glad to read through if you go through them, if you go through the process and get one published. But where your supervisor is willing, it becomes even a lot easier. And I know that most supervisors will be willing if you are willing to put in the hard work. Of course, it's not going to come very easy. It's a lot of hard work, but it's one that if you do it, you develop a writing skill that is uncommon. And in addition to developing that writing skill, you also improve your chances of getting a graduate assistantship scholarship. And not just that, you improve your chances of getting a lot of other scholarships that are available out there. So once again, it was just a very quick one. If you have specific questions, we could actually plan to do a webinar on this where you have the opportunity to ask your questions live, drop your questions, and we discuss them. You raise your challenges, we discuss them. But in the absence of that, go ahead, write your paper, make the publication, and then share with us, and we'll be glad to read through them and learn from you. So if you are going through the ASU strike, just go ahead, make your publication, and it will help you a lot. Thank you very much for this staying with us. We are glad you did. Have a very nice time. Bye for now, and keep following us. Keep checking up on what we do. A lot of good things are bound to come here. We are just getting started. Our engines are just getting warm. Have a very good evening and a wonderful weekend. Don't forget to subscribe, to like the page, and then visit our YouTube channel to subscribe to the things we do here. Thank you and good evening. Bye for now.